Okay, good morning and welcome to yet another wonderful session of London Examinations IGCSE higher tier blah 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 blah. Right, this is the 2008 June uh, paper 3H, same as always, or your formulae that you could ever want. Answer all 22 questions? No, thanks. We'll do the first 11 or so. So first, 3.6 times 4.8. This is going to be calculator job, so I'm just going to do that on my calculator. 3.6 times 4.8 over 5.6 minus 3.2. And that gives me 36 over 5. And again, it doesn't say if it's going to be in fraction form or decimal. So I'm just going to press my SD button and it gives me 7.2. So both of those should be fine, or 7.2. Okay, next one. A bag contains red discs, black discs, and white discs. Original. The number of black discs is equal to the number of white discs. Selena is going to take a disc at random from the bag. The probability that she'll take a red disc is 0.6. What's the probability that she'll take a black disc? Okay, so let's say, for example, okay, let's say that there are 10 discs in the bag. And if you take one at random, it's either going to be red, black, or white. Now, she says that the probability that she'll take a red disc is 0.6. That means that 6 of those discs are red. And it says also that the number of black discs is equal to the number of white discs. So that means it's going to be 2 black and 2 white discs as well. Okay, so if you look at the black discs, which is what we're trying to work out the probability, because there are 2 in 10 black discs, that also equals the probability. So you work for probability, you take the number of ways possible to get your desired outcome out of, desired outcome divided by the total possible outcomes. But what if there are not 10 discs? 10 discs, I hear you say. Well, it doesn't matter because the probability will still be the same because let's say there's 50 discs, for example. Well, the probability that you take out a red would be 0.6 still. So let's say 0.6 times 50, that's 30. So that would mean there are 30 red discs, 15 black, and 15 white. The probability remains the same because for black it would still be 15 divided by 50, which is the same as 0.2. Hang on, have I gone wrong? 6, 2 and 2. So it would be 10 and 10. So 10 out of 50, which is 0.2, which is the same as 1 over here, 10 divided by 2. 2 divided by 10. Right, moving on. Okay, we've got describe fully the single transformation that maps triangle P onto triangle Q. Okay, so often there are 3 marks for something like this. So first thing, remember, I think last time I said there are 3 different transformations. One is translation, where it moves. 2 is enlargement. 3 is rotation. Ooh, rotation. Actually, no, there are 4, aren't there? Last time I said there was only 3 because you also have reflection. And each of these require a certain number of pieces of information. So if you look at the first one, it's out of 3 marks. So they're looking for 3 pieces of information. Now I can see that this is an enlargement. Hopefully you can see that as well. So first thing we need to write is an enlargement. That's 1 mark. Then you need to say, well, how much bigger is it? So we need to look at the scale factor. Now, I can see that it's 1 across, and then this one here is 2 across. This one is 2 up, down, and this one here is 4 up, down. So I can see it's twice the size. So the scale factor equals 2, or enlargement scale factor of 2. And also I need to know what we call the point of enlargement, which is just where it is enlarging from. Now, there's quite a straightforward way of doing this, but it's not the easiest thing to do. What we do is we draw a line going from each point. So this line goes from the top point of P and Q. Then I'm going to draw another line, okay, that goes from the bottom left point, and I'm going to draw another line that goes from the bottom right point. Oops. And I can see that they all intersect in pretty much the same place. It's about there. And so the point of enlargement is, and I'm just going to read that, about 1, 3. Okay, so remember, those are the 3 things for enlargement. You need the scale factor and the point. Remember translation, it needs to be, you need to write translation, and you need to write it as a vector with your change in x at the top and your change in y at the bottom. Rotation is clockwise or anti-clockwise, and the number of degrees. And also the center of rotation. The center of rotation is not very easy though. Reflection is in the line, in a line, and then often you have to actually give the equation of the line. Remember, if it's a horizontal line, this is my x-axis and y-axis, and that point there is 3, that would be y equals 3. If it's a vertical line, it would be x equals this point there, x equals, let's say 2, whatever it is, okay? Describe fully the single transformation that maps P to R. Okay, so there are a couple of options. Are there a couple of options? No, there's only one. It's a reflection. It's a reflection first, and I can see, I'm just going to do it in a different color to make it a little bit easier to see here. I can see that it's being reflected in that line, so that if I draw perpendicular lines from each point to the line of reflection, it's the same distance on both sides. And of course, here the distance is 0. So, question is, what is that line? Well, it's a reflection in the line y equals x. This dotted line that I've just drawn, that's actually just a regular, I can describe it as a graph. And it goes through the origin. So when I use y equals mx plus c, I know c is going to equal 0, and my m, I can just take a look at this. I can go across 1, and then how far do I go up? Oh, I go up 1 as well. So m equals 1. If it were across 1 up 2, and the line looked like that, then the gradient would be 2. But for a question like this, they're checking, do you understand transformations, not do you understand how to draw lines and graphs and things like that. So usually it would be a very, very simple line of transformation. It would either be probably a gradient one like this. So it would be y equals x. It might have plus c, so maybe like +1 or +2 or something like that. But again, they're not trying to test and try and trick you out for that one. So it's probably just going to be y equals x, or like I said before, it'll be a vertical or horizontal line. Okay, let's move on. Bronze is made from copper and tin. The ratio of the weight of copper to the weight of tin is 3:1. Work out the weight of copper in 280 grams of bronze. So again, this has been in the other few exams as well, other few past papers, and we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to say for one kind of like the minimum amount. Let's say I'm going to call it 4 grams. Okay, where you've got copper to tin. Yeah, so that 3 there represents these 3 grams here, and that 1 represents 1 gram here. Now, this is the simplest amount that I could do. Of course, those could be kilos, they could be tons, they could be anything, but I make sure that the numbers are the same. I know it says 280 grams of bronze. Well, together those combined makes 4 grams. So how many 4 grams goes into 280 grams? Get out my calculator of power. 280 divided by 4 is 70. 280 divided by 4 is 70. So I know that I would times 3 times 70 grams would give me the amount of copper, and 1 times 70 grams would give me the amount of tin. Okay, so 3 times 70 grams is 210 grams. It could have easily asked you how many grams are there of tin or something like that. Okay, next question. This is a sets question. And I briefly mentioned about this, I think, in one of the previous papers. I can't remember which one, but I did. And it says, well, let's just really quickly recap what are sets. Sets are it's just a group of things. Okay. Often in maths, we use numbers, especially in things like number theory. But it could be, days of the week, letters. Letters of the alphabet, letters in the word calculator, things like this. It's just a group of things that you define. So here, this funny looking E, that just means the universal set. That means the thing that we are talking about. That's the overall set of everything that we are going to be considering and using. So we're only looking at odd numbers. So our universal set equals 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, ... Okay, now it's okay just to write odd numbers. Yeah, you could write 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, ... and that would be the same as writing all the odd numbers. But writing odd numbers is just as okay. A is a subset of, or is a set of the universal set. Okay, so 1, 5, 9, 13, and 17. That, of course, that's not all of the odd numbers. So that's just a collection of 5 odd numbers that we've chosen to let be our set A. For set B, 1, 9, 17, 25, 33, they're all odd numbers. Again, they have to be because they belong to the universal set of odd numbers. So again, that's just chosen arbitrarily. We've just chosen those numbers at random, basically. And then C, smaller set, number of elements is 3. Okay, so these are the things that we're going to be working with. Now, it says list the members of the set A intersect B. What does intersect mean? It means the numbers that are found in A and in B. Okay, so it has to be in A and in B. So what numbers are in A and B? I can see 1 is in A and B, 9 is in A and B, and 17 is in A and B. Okay, 5 is not included because it's not in B. 13 is not included because it's not in B. 25 is not included because it's not in A, and 33 is not included because it's not in A. Okay, so 1, 9, 7 are the members of the set. I could also, something else that we need to be able to do is we could say n of A intersect B equals 3. Why? Because there are 3 elements in this set. Okay. So next one, A union B means anything that is in A or in B. Okay, so if it's in A, it's good. If it's in B, we're good. So what are we going to get? We're going to get everything. We're going to get 1. Now we don't have to list 1 twice because it is in both sets, right? So 1, 5, 9, 13, 17, 25, 33. Okay, so it's everything in either A or B. Okay. Explain why A intersect C equals the empty set. Basically, the empty set just means a set that has 0 elements in it, has no elements in there. Why is A intersect C the empty set? Because there is nothing in C that is also in A. Okay, there are no numbers in A and C at the same time. Okay, so because no members of A are also in C. Done. Right, next one. Woo, trigonometry. My favorite, because it's easy. Right, as soon as you see trigonometry, write down SOHCAHTOA, SOHCAHTOA. Silly old hens can't always have tons of acorns. And then I'm going to write and I'm going to label my diagram. Here's my angle, x degrees. Then I'm going to label my diagonal, h. I'm going to label my adjacent, the one next to the angle, the other one next to the angle. That's that one there, A. And O for other or opposite. So which things do I have? What am I going to use? Well, I don't know what H is, but I do have O and A. So I'm going to use TOA because I've got the O and the A. Could I work out H? Yes, I could work out H as well by using a little bit of Pythagoras. 3 squared plus 8 squared equals H squared. So 9 plus 64 equals H squared. 73 equals H squared. And therefore H equals square root of 73. But that's not a very nice thing to use. So we're going to use just 8 and 3. We're going to use these O and A that is already given to us. So how does this work? Well, we say that tan of x, of our angle, equals O over A, 3 over 8. Okay, that's what the ratio is with this angle. How do I get rid of the tan and just get tan? How do I get rid of the tan and just get x? Well, I do tan inverse of both sides. And doing that gets rid of the tan on the left-hand side. But of course, I've got to take the tan inverse of 3 over 8. It's basically finding the angle that gives a ratio of 3 over 8 with regards to the tan ratio. So I can just put on my calculator, I'm going to put shift tan, and it says tan little -1, open brackets, 3 over 8, close brackets, and that gives me 20.556. And it says also write your answer to 1 decimal place. So that's 20.556. 20.6. Look at the number after the first decimal plates. If it's 5 or more, it rounds up. So 20.6 degrees is the answer. Number 7. The diameter of a circle is 7.8 centimeters. Calculate the circumference of the circle. Okay. I can have a look at my formulas at the very beginning. Circumference of a circle is 2 pi r. Area of a circle is pi r squared. Okay. Where are we? Here we are. Right. It says, actually, let's go crazy. Let's draw a circle. It says the diameter of a circle is 7.8 centimeters. Calculate the circumference. Now, you've got to be just a little bit careful about this because the formula at the beginning of the paper says it's 2 pi r. I don't like that formula personally. I prefer pi d. What's r? R is, of course, the radius, and that's the same on both sides of the diameter. So 7.8 here is the diameter. So we've just got to be careful when we're putting that into our calculation. I can either use this formula here, which is 7.8 times pi, or I can do 7.8 divided by 2, which is 3.9, and do that. Oh, sorry, 2 times pi times 3.9. But you can see that that's actually exactly the same as that because 2 times 3.9 is 7.8. So both of them equal 7.8 pi is 24.504. Okay. Now it also says give your answer to 3 significant figures. I look at my first 3 non-significant figures. I look at the next one. It's a 0, so it's going to round down to 24.5 centimeters. Next. Question number 8. Here are some patterns from some sticks. This rule can be used to find the number of sticks in one of these patterns. Oh, excuse me. Multiply the pattern number by 2 and then add 1. Well, marvelous. N is the number of sticks in pattern number P. Okay, write down a formula for N in terms of P. So for N means it's going to be N equals something. And then everything on the other side is just going to be only include the letter P. It might have some numbers in there, but it's got to be something which is dependent on P. So I take a certain pattern number, and then I can work out the number of sticks, which is N. So what does it say? It says multiply the pattern number by 2. Well, pattern number by 2, that's 2 times P, and then add 1. Okay, so that's going to be N equals 2P plus 1. That's 3 marks. That's crazy. But there you go. That's all it is. And I can actually just check that really quickly by looking at my pattern numbers up here. Here, pattern number is 1. Here, pattern number is 2. Here, pattern number is 3. So if I take 2 times this P here, 2 times 1, which is 2, plus 1 is 3. Check. Here, pattern number 2 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Check. And here we've got 3 times 2, which is 6, plus 1 is 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Check. Make P the subject of your formula. Okay, this means make P equal something. So I've got N equals 2P plus 1, minus 1 to both sides. N minus 1 equals 2P. Divide by 2, divide by 2. N minus 1 over 2 equals P. P equals N minus 1 over 2. Done. N equals 2P plus 1. Always a good idea just to remember to write your answer on the actual line. You'd be surprised how many times people don't write it there. Very frustrating. Question number 9. Solve this. Okay, you must show sufficient working. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to, if we've got unknown on both sides of the equation, we have to get them all to the same side. So gather like terms. So I'm going to gather all the numbers together and all the x's together. I'm going to start by multiplying out. Actually, no, I'll start by writing it down. Would be a better idea. Multiply out that and that. So I've got 7x minus 7 because of that negative 1 there, and minus 1. And that equals 5 minus 2x. Now I'm going to add 2x to both sides. That's going to give me 9x minus 7 equals 5 because I've added 2x to the right-hand side and it gets rid of that that minus 2x there. And now I'm going to plus 7, and I get 9x equals 5 plus 7, which is 12. And now I'm going to divide by 3, running out of space, divide by 3, and I get x equals 12. No, why am I dividing by 3? Why would anybody divide by 3? Look, the coefficient of x is 9. Oh my goodness. So divide by 9 instead. Much better idea. Yes. Right, so divide by 9. 12 divided by 9 is 4 over 3. So x equals 4 over 3. Okay, and if I want to check that, I can actually just put it in my calculator and go 7, open brackets, answer minus 1, close brackets, and I get 7 over 3. Okay, remember that I got 7 over 3. And if I do same thing, I go 5 minus 2 times 4 over 3, and that also gives me 7 over 3. So I've checked my answer as well. Solve the inequality 4x plus 5 is less than or equal to 21. Okay, so what we do for this one is we treat it like a regular equation. So I got 4x plus 5 is less or equal to than 21. Gather my like terms, minus 5 from both sides. I get 4x is less than or equal to 16. I'm going to divide by 4. And I get x is less than or equal to 4. Okay, so it then says, write down all the values of n which satisfy 4n plus 5 is less than or equal to 21. Well, all it says is n is a positive integer, okay? And if we know that n is a positive integer, it's got to be greater than 0. That's all it says, okay? So if I were to list the numbers, I would just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, dot, dot, dot. Okay, but what does it say in our inequality? Here it tells us x is less than or equal to 4. So which of these numbers works for that? 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is the answer. Now, just whilst I'm on the topic of inequalities, if I get something like 5 minus x is greater than 10, right? If that happens, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to minus 5 from both sides, okay? And I get minus x is greater than 5. Now, here comes a very, very important part. Usually, to get rid of that negative, we'd times by negative 1, times both sides by negative 1. In an equation, if it were negative x equals 5 times by negative 1, we get x equals negative 5. That works, there's no problem there. But in an equality, you must remember to do this, otherwise it doesn't work. You've got to flip the equality sign. Okay, you have to remember to flip. That's if you multiply everything by negative 1. So x is going to be less than -5. Okay, so yeah, let's carry on. Number 10, Kara's salary was increased from $28,250 to $29,832. Okay, for percentage increase, I will always, and I still do this, doesn't matter what type of question it is, I'll write down what happens. I'm going to have salary at the beginning, call that salary 1, times some kind of percentage multiplier equals salary 2. Okay, now it says salary 1 is 28,250 times some kind of percentage multiplier equals 29,832. This is just an equation which I can solve. My percentage multiplier is going to be, well, I'm going to divide both sides by 28250, divide by 28250, and I'm going to get 29,832 divided by 28,250. What does that equal, kids? 29832. I can't do this in my head. 28250. Okay, and that equals 1.056. Now, what is that as a percentage increase? Okay, well, what we do is we forget about that thing there, and we just look at these guys here. Okay, and we look at these as this here is the starting value of the percentage. So essentially what we're going to do is times this thing here by 100. All right, so if I times that by 100, I get 105.6. That's the percentage, okay? It's not the percentage increase. That is the percentage of that compared to that. So if that's 100%, this here is going to be 105.6%. What's that as a percentage increase? Hopefully you can see that it's adding 5.6%. Okay. Now, the next one, Pedro's salary was increased by 5.2%. After the increase, his salary was 28,000, blah, blah, blah. Right. So we're going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to do S1 times some percentage multiplier equals S2. I don't know what S1 is, so it's going to be S times. Now, this salary increase is 5.2%. Can we see here in the first question, an increase was 5.6%, which was 105.6, but the multiplier was 1.056. So if we think about this one, the second salary is going to be 105.2% compared to the original one. Divide that by 100 and we get 1.052. This is the percentage multiplier. So 1.052. Okay, that's super, super important because obviously if you put 5.2% or something like that, it will work out 5.2% of the salary, okay, which is not much. And that equals 28,141. Then it's just solving an equation and divide by 1.052 on both sides. And I get 2,8,141 divided by 1.052, and that equals, so S equals 2,8,141 divided by 1.052, which equals 26750. Okay. Should we do this last one? Yeah, we'll do this last one here. The table shows information about the pulse rates of 60 people when they were resting. Okay. Write down the modal class. Modal. We need to know what that means. It just means the most. That's why it's only worth 1 mark. Boo. So 60 to 70 because there's 21 people. Haha. Work out an estimate for the mean pulse of the 60 people. Well, this is just going to be an estimate, and we need to work out we need to incorporate all of these things together. So I need to choose a pulse rate to represent this group of people, because I can't use this kind of range in my calculations. I can't put that into a calculator. So I have to use something which just makes sense. And for me, that's going to be halfway between the two. Now, you can either look at it and say, okay, that's going to be 55. If they're not so easy numbers, you can always do 50 plus 60 divided by 2. That will give you halfway, which is 55. So that's 55. This is 65, 75, 85, and 95. Sometimes they do like to try and trick you by changing the range, which is when you've got to be careful and probably use this formula over here, the lower plus upper divided by 2. Okay, so that means that if I would collect all my data of 60 people, the first 7 pieces of data would be 55, 55, 55, 55, 55, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 55, and 55. The next 21 pieces of data would be 65, and then 15 lots of 75, 80, 14 lots of 85, and 3 lots of 95. So to work out the mean, remember what we do is we get all of our pieces of data and we add them all together and we divide by the number of people, the number of pieces of data. We know we've got 60 people. So what I'm going to do is on this thing right here, I'm just going to get rid of those because it's stupid. I'm going to do frequency times pulse rate, and I'm going to use my middle number from over here, and I'm going to work those out on my calculator. So I'm going to do 7 times 55 because that's the same as 55 plus 55 plus 55, doing that 7 times. So that's 385. And next is going to be 21 times 65, which is 1,365. 75 times 15 is 1125. 85 times 14 is 1190. And 95 times 3 is 285. And then I'm going to add them all together, and I'm going to divide by 60. So I'm going to get 385 plus 1365 plus 1125 plus 1190 plus 285, and I'm going to divide all of that by 60. So let's do that. 385 plus 1365 plus 1125 plus 1190 plus 285 over 60 is 145 over 2, which is 72.5. Well, there you go, 72.5 beats per minute. 72.5 beats per minute. Okay, so I hope that this is helpful. Just on this one here, let's also work out the median class. Now, the median class is what's going to happen at the, you take the number of people, you take the number of people, you add 1, and you divide by 2. And that will give you the middle value of everything, of all of your pieces of data. So that gives me 30.5. What does that mean? That means that if I take the first 30 pieces of data, 30 pieces, what value goes there that's got 30 pieces of data afterwards? Okay, so I need to know my 30.5th piece of data. Well, my first 7 are 55, and then after that takes me up to 28 because I've got 7 plus 21, and then 15 on top of that would take me to 43. I'll just do the rest as well. Cumulative frequency, this is called. Plus 14 is 57, plus 3 is 60. Yeah, that's right, because it says 60 people. So all I need to do is find my 30.5th piece of data, and I can see that it's going to be in this class right here somewhere. So an estimate for the 30.5th piece of data would be 75 beats per minute. Okay, right. I hope that helps. I hope that helps even. Let me know. Cheers.